In the 1950s, most toys were standalone products, which meant that when kids got bored of a toy, their parents would throw it away and buy a new one. This vicious cycle was the norm until Lego came along. In 1955, Lego's claim to fame was a philosophy they called the system in play. The idea was that Lego sets were always compatible with each other, so bricks from one set would work with bricks from another set. This was a revolutionary idea in the toy industry. It meant that buying a new Lego set didn't replace an old set, it only added to it. So parents were happy because they were getting their money's worth, and kids were happy because they could build something, take it apart, then build something else. It was almost like a new toy every day. So over the next 3 decades, Lego kept growing and growing. Things were going great for them until the 90s came along. The age of video games had officially arrived, and kids had a whole new world of digital games to explore. And Lego got worried. Would kids still be interested in playing with physical toys? So Lego became desperate to stay relevant. They tried making video games, but that didn't work. They tried making a G.I. Joe inspired character, but that didn't work either. Lego was scrambling and pumping out new toys that didn't even look like Lego products. So much so that people were in stores asking where the Lego section was while they were standing right in the middle of it. And things went from bad to worse. Lego started losing a lot of money, and things got so bad that they tried to see if their biggest competitor, Mattel, would buy them. It was looking like Lego had finally run out of answers until they took a chance on this guy. They called him JVK, and in 2004, he became Lego's CEO at just 36 years old. And he had a fresh perspective. He believed that Lego had lost its way and had started making toys for kids that didn't even like to build with Lego. So he flipped the script and he put the focus back on the brick. For example, before JVK took over, Lego had started making their fire trucks with a lot less pieces. The idea was that kids could skip the building and get to playing sooner. But this reasoning was flawed, because what Lego had forgotten was something called the IKEA effect. People value a product a lot more if they had a hand in putting it together, like a piece of IKEA furniture or a Lego set. So JVK's fire truck had a lot more pieces, and it brought back the classic Lego building experience. But they were still missing a crucial component. They needed stories. Companies like Mattel had been winning big by collaborating with movie franchises, but Lego held off from doing the same for a long time until the right one came along. It was Lego Star Wars, and it was a massive hit, and it gave Lego a lifeline, but they were still not out of the woods just yet. The future of their company was riding on their next move, so Lego went to a man with a brain tumor. Christian Faber was an art director, and he had been dealing with a benign tumor for the last 10 years. So Lego asked him to come up with an original story for them. So Christian looked no further than the bottle of medicine he took every day. He imagined that each capsule was filled with heroes that were sent in to fight his tumor. So his pitch to Lego was a story where robot heroes arrived on an island to battle a disease. His idea was called Bionicles, and it became the massive success that saved Lego. They released Bionicles toys and books, they made TV shows and even video games, and all of them contributed to telling the Bionicles story. And this story was so vast and so deep that there's a 13-hour video on YouTube that goes over the entire lore of Bionicles. But storytelling with Lego actually started with the fans themselves. In 1973, 2 Danish kids made a home movie where they animated Lego bricks in stop motion. This was the earliest example of a brick film, and ever since then, fans have made films like these to tell all kinds of stories using Lego bricks. And Brickfilms eventually paved the way for Lego's own cinematic achievement. The Lego movie came out in 2014, and it was animated in the style of a brick film. They intentionally added imperfections to the Lego. We saw bricks with fingerprints on them and even dust, so it felt like the movie could have been made by fans at home. And some skeptics were expecting the Lego movie to be a cash grab commercial, but it was anything but that. It had heart and a meaningful story, and that's why it resonated with millions of people. And there's actually a part in the movie where they celebrate the fan-made brick films that paved the way. And to think that the first ever brick film was made before minifigures were even a thing. The minifigure is such an important vehicle for Lego storytelling, but it's also important for the purpose of representation. We see minifigures of all skin tones, some have physical disabilities. We even see minifigures wearing the sunflower sunflower lanyard to represent people with unseen disabilities. The minifigure allows kids to feel seen in the toys they play with, which is so important. And although Lego has typically been seen as a favorite among boys, they've always made it a point to make girls feel welcome. Back in the 60s and 70s, boys were expected to play as cowboys and astronauts, whereas girls were expected to play as mothers and housewives. So Lego went against the grain. In 1974, they sent a message to parents. It said the urge to create is equal in all children. Boys can play with dollhouses just like girls can play with spaceships. This stance was ahead of its time, and Lego has kept firm on it to this day. If you look up what sets are for girls on Lego's website, it says that all Lego sets are for girls. But one group of people who didn't always feel welcomed by Lego are adults. In the mid-90s, adult fans of Lego were on the rise, but they didn't feel like they were accepted by Lego. The truth is, there was huge stigma at the time about adults playing with Lego, and Lego as a company was torn about what stance to take. One camp advocated for adults, while the other camp's position was that Lego was meant for kids, and they found the adult fans annoying, but they were not going to be able to ignore them for much longer. In 1998, Lego released a product called Mindstorms. The idea was that kids could build programmable robots using Lego. It was a huge hit, but when Lego looked into who was buying it, they were shocked. It wasn't kids who were playing with it, it was adults. Adults who had PhDs in computer science and advanced knowledge of coding. And soon enough, the adults started hacking the Mindstorms code. This was a nightmare for Lego, but before they started suing everybody, they realized that the hackers had no ill will. They were simply hacking Mindstorms to make it better. And that's when it clicked for Lego. What if they encouraged people to hack Mindstorms to see what kind of robots they can come up with? So Lego added a right to hack clause into the product's license. Lego even brought in some of the hackers to help them build an even better version of Mindstorms. And today the legacy of Mindstorms has come a long way. Lego organizes these robotics competitions where kids built some incredible robots using Lego. And it was all thanks to those hackers in the late 90s. And around that time, Lego had started taking a closer look at forums online. And what they found was that adult customers were sharing some never before seen Lego creations. They were going off script from Lego's instructions and making pieces of art. They called them MOCs, which stands for My Own Creations. The fans were even coming up with brand new building techniques, and Lego's own designers were shocked. And they had to make the humbling realization that the fans were innovating more than they were. So that's when Lego finally understood that in order to win, they needed to empower their community. So they came up with a genius idea. They started a crowdsourcing platform called Lego Ideas. People can pitch their ideas for Lego sets, and if they get enough votes, their idea can get selected by Lego to be made into an official set. And the creator of the idea gets paid royalties from the set's sales. But it takes a lot to create an amazing Lego MOC. Besides the creativity, there's some serious math and geometry involved. There are even some unwritten rules that you need to follow. For example, putting together certain pieces is considered illegal in the Lego community because it would put too much stress on the pieces, which could damage them long term. And one thing that's celebrated in the Lego community is when you creatively repurpose a piece. For example, using a leaf to make a penguin's foot or a chopstick to make a bird's beak. Lego fans call this nice part usage, and some fans even take it as far as creating completely different builds out of an existing set. For example, there was a massive trend in the Lego community called Will It Falcon. Fans were recreating the Star Wars Millennium Falcon out of just about any set you can imagine. And this philosophy of using what you have has always been a pillar of Lego's DNA. Way back in the 1930s, Lego's founder Olikar Christensen had too many wooden yo-yos in his inventory, so he split them in half and made wheels for his toy cars. And I've actually seen this Lego philosophy of resourcefulness with my own two eyes. My 8-year-old nephew was showing me his favorite Lego sets, and he showed me this bunny he had built. He said he lost the piece that was supposed to be the nose, so he put an extra eye instead. He was so happy to have found an alternative, but more than anything, he was proud of himself. And this pride has actually been an angle in Lego's marketing from the start. By leading with the pride that a kid gets from building something, Lego focuses on the experience you get from a toy. And they know how to tailor this experience to each group of people. For example, kids care about the play features of a set, whereas adults care more about being able to display something they're passionate about, like their love for plants or their favorite movie franchise. And I love that Lego knows how to tell parents what's in it for them. For example, they say that while your kids play, you can get some peace and quiet. But also, they make it clear that kids stimulating their imagination is crucial for their development. Research even shows that kids who play with Lego tend to develop stronger skills in STEM subjects. It's powerful to think that a toy can make a kid decide they want to be an engineer or a scientist when they grow up. And Lego is actually making science more accessible in major ways. Scientists have used Lego pieces to make fully functioning microscopes, while others have made some incredibly sophisticated devices that work on the level of a cell. Instead of having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, scientists are able to get their projects done for a few $100s. And then you have people like David Aguilar, who at 18 years old built himself a fully functioning prosthetic arm using only the pieces from a Lego helicopter set. Stories like these are becoming more and more common, but they're also made possible because of Lego's incredible manufacturing. The surgical precision of Lego's molds is legendary at this point, and it's why a brick from the 1950s will fit perfectly with one that's made today. But it's also Lego staying true to their system in play and their philosophy that all pieces must always fit together. And so it's no surprise that Lego sets have become family heirlooms that are passed down from one generation to the next. And it's largely thanks to the quality of the pieces themselves. Lego goes to incredible lengths to make sure their pieces can withstand decades of heavy play and the test of time. They even put every set in an oven to make sure it can handle sun exposure over the years. This obsession over quality is why a Lego brick is basically unbreakable. And if you've ever stepped on one before, then you already know you're not gonna hurt it, it's gonna hurt you. And at this point, there's truly a whole world of content being made about Lego. Some people are telling captivating stories through Brickfilms. Others are using the medium to make cooking videos. And it somehow looks so appetizing despite being made of plastic. But Lego is not limited to the indoors. Some creators will go to a landmark and build the Lego set depicting it. And there's a whole side of the internet where people are sharing their incredible Lego builds that are simply works of art. And the biggest compliment that these builders can get is that they're so talented that Lego should hire them. Getting hired as a Lego set designer is pretty much the pinnacle achievement for a Lego fanatic. But as you can imagine, it's incredibly competitive to get that kind of opportunity. Lego even hosts workshops where some of the most talented builders compete for a chance to get hired as a set designer. People travel from far and wide for a shot at making their dreams come true. And those who make the cut tend to stay at Lego for a long time. And I love that Lego set designers leave little Easter eggs in their sets. It's their way of leaving their personal touch on their work. And details like these are a big part of the Lego building experience. A set is just as much about the outside as it is about the inside. For example, the Titanic set is historically accurate in painstaking detail. It even comes with the engine and boiler rooms that powered the ship. So really, the exterior is just the tip of the iceberg of the Lego experience. And Lego does an amazing job of representing this experience in their content. They make it clear they have something for everyone. We see Lego pottery, Lego fashion, Lego flowers, and all of these are potential avenues for people to discover Lego. And they also post brick films that tell amazing stories, and others that celebrate cultures. And it all goes to show that Lego is in a way the paint on the canvas that is human creativity. And the key word is human, because Lego's content is so good that some people think it's AI. But Lego has made it clear time and time again that they're against using AI in their content. And they're even spreading this message to the next generation. In their kids' show Dreams, the villain is a powerful AI system that's draining the world of its creativity. And it's up to the show's cast of characters to save the day by using the one thing the AI can't match: human creativity. And it's powerful that Lego's instilling this message into the next generation, who will one day carry on the torch of creativity as adults. And in 2020, Lego made things right with a group of people they didn't always treat the best. Adults Welcome became one of Lego's main taglines, and with it came an entire line of sets for ages 18 and up. It was a smart business move, but it meant so much more than that. To the millions of adults who for years felt like their love for Lego was seen as embarrassing, now they're finally being accepted. And to me, it's even bigger than that. It means that as a society, we've shifted towards celebrating people having passions, even if they involve playing, because the inner child in all of us deserves some love. And the truth is, we're never too old to play. Lego's even being used in care facilities to help seniors be creative and connect with each other. And so I'll leave you with this one last quote. We don't stop playing because we get old. We get old because we stop playing. What brand do you want me to break down next?